What's wrong with this picture? Is a democracy not at its strongest point when more people are participating? And yet, Republican legislatures write bill after bill to limit those who will be able to vote in the future. I want to say a word or two about my colleague, Senator Joe Manchin. I want to thank him for his determined efforts to find a compromise on the bill that's coming before us. Senator Manchin spoke to everyone in sight, Republicans, Democrats, independents, liberals, conservatives, and he listened. The compromise he proposed is not inclusive of everything I'd like to see in the bill, but the reality is that it would be an improvement. It would help address the dangerous all-out assault on voting rights that's taking place in all these states that I mentioned. It could help put Jim Crow back in the grave where he belongs, and it deserves the support of the Senate. My last word before I close. I had the honor of serving with Senator Robert Byrd. He used to sit back here. And I remember standing in front of his desk as a new United States Senator, and he told me in his illustrious Senate career the things he was embarrassed by the most. He talked about deregulation of airlines, which took the planes out of his state of West Virginia. He talked about a nominee for the Eisenhower cabinet who was rejected because he was Jewish. He told me he was wrong in the way he voted on those measures. But he said, Mr. Durbin, more than anything, I was wrong on civil rights. Madam President, this past Saturday was not only Juneteenth, it was the 57th anniversary of the Senate's passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It had been filibustered for 2 months before it passed. Opposition to the bill wasn't divided along party lines, but I'll be very honest. My party, the Democratic Party, particularly Southern members of the party, were leading the fight against it. On June 8th, 1964, one of the most conservative Democrats stood on the floor with an 800-page speech filled with all kinds of reasoning about why civil rights was unnecessary and an infringement on states' rights, an echo of a speech we just heard on the Senate floor. That senator's name was Robert C. Byrd. He spoke on this floor for 14 hours and 13 minutes. When he finished, the majority leader called the roll, and 71 senators voted to end the filibuster, 4 more than was needed. 10 days later, on Juneteenth, 1964, the Senate passed the Civil Rights Act. On July 2nd, it passed the House, was signed by President Johnson. Robert C. Byrd would go on to serve for another 46 years in the Senate, become majority leader twice, and the longest-serving senator in history. He later called his filibuster of the Civil Rights Act, quote, the worst mistake of my life, a decision which he told me personally he deeply regretted. He would change. He would begin to champion civil rights. When President George W. Bush signed the law extending voting rights in 2006, it was Robert C. Byrd by his side in the Oval Office, along with Ted Kennedy and John Lewis. When Robert Byrd died in 2010, John Lewis mourned him and called him an ally and true statesman. Yet despite all the years that had passed and all the good he accomplished, prominent in many articles about his death was the fact that he once stood against civil rights. None of us knows how long we have to serve in the Senate, or even on this earth. If the last year has taught us anything, life is fragile. So I implore my colleagues who may be wrestling with how to vote tomorrow, this is a vote for history. This is democracy on trial. Think about how you want to be remembered by your children's children. If democracy is worth fighting for, even worth dying for, surely a democracy reform bill is worthy of debate in this Senate. Allow the Senate to do its job and debate the For the People Act. I yield the floor.